Hi, today I'm talking about Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon. It's hard to talk about one without the other because so much of their work came out of their remarkable collaboration. Bob Fosse was an American dancer, choreographer, actor, as well as director. He worked in both musical theater and film. He was always drawn to dance and took lessons as a kid. When he was 13 years old, he began performing professionally in Chicago, the city, not the musical. During World War II, Fosse was in the Navy and was put in a variety show that toured military bases in the Pacific. After the war, Fosse moved to New York, wanting to be the new Fred Astaire. In 1953, Fosse was signed to an MGM contract. One of his early screen appearances as a dancer was Kiss Me Kate. Fosse's choreography of a short dance sequence in Kiss Me Kate brought him to the attention of Broadway producers. Gwen Verdon was born in Southern California, began dancing at the age of 3, and studied many forms of dance as she was older. She was an assistant to Jack Cole, who was known as the father of theatrical dance. During her employment with Cole, she had small roles in movie musicals as a specialty dancer. She also taught dance to well-known stars, including Betty Grable and Marilyn Monroe. Her big break happened when she was cast in Cole Porter's musical Can-Can. Her performance in the show's Garden of Eden Ballet was so well received that the audience screamed her name until the startled actress was brought from her dressing room in a towel to take a curtain call in the middle of the show. Verdon received a pay increase and her first Tony Award for that show. In 1954, Fosse choreographed his first Broadway musical, The Pajama Game, which I will talk more about on Thursday. This was followed by Damn Yankees in 1955. It was while working on Damn Yankees that he first met Gwen Verdon. For her work in Damn Yankees as Lola, Verdon won her first Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical, famously singing Whatever Lola Wants. In 1957, Fosse choreographed New Girl in Town, and Verdon won her second Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. In 1960, Fosse directed and choreographed the murder mystery musical Redhead. For his work on Redhead, Fosse won the Tony Award for Best Choreography, while Verdon won her fourth Tony Award. Redhead won the Tony Award for Best Musical. Also in 1960, Fosse and Verdon wed. However, by 1971, they were separated but never divorced, and their theatrical collaboration continued. In 1961, Fosse choreographed How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which became a huge hit. He choreographed and directed Verdon in Sweet Charity in 1966. In 1973, Fosse's work on Pippin won him the Tony for Best Direction of a Musical. He was director and choreographer of Chicago in 1975, which starred Verdon and Chita Rivera. After that, they both worked on Dancin', which was the first Broadway show I ever attended, and I loved. In 1986, Fosse wrote, choreographed, and directed the Broadway production of Big Deal, which was nominated for 5 Tony Awards, winning for Best Choreography. Then in 1957, Fosse choreographed the film version of The Pajama Game starring Doris Day. The next year, Fosse appeared in and choreographed the film version of Damn Yankees, in which Verdon reprised her stage triumph as the character Lola. Fosse and Verdon were partners in the Mambo number, Who's Got the Pain, when they do the Mambo. Fosse directed 5 feature films, including Sweet Charity, starring Shirley MacLaine. Verdon worked on the choreography for Charity with him, including Big Spender, Rhythm of Life, and If My Friends Could See Me Now. His second film in 1972 was Cabaret. Verdon traveled to Berlin to help Fosse with the film, which won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Director. He actually won that award over Francis Ford Coppola, who had been nominated for The Godfather, which starred Marlon Brando. Liza Minnelli and Joel Grey both won Oscars for their roles in Cabaret. In 1979, Fosse co-wrote and directed a semi-autobiographical film, All That Jazz, starring Roy Scheider, which portrayed the life of a choreographer and director fighting his demons in the midst of triumph and failure. Verdon collaborated with him on this one as well. All That Jazz won 4 Academy Awards. Fosse is infamously known as an unrelenting perfectionist when it comes to his work. There are stories of him rehearsing a single dance move for hours before being satisfied that all his dancers were perfect. Fosse's distinctive style of choreography includes turned-in knees and jazz hands. He designed his signature style by accentuating what he saw as his own shortcomings, using extreme angles with his body, creating wildly creative choreography. In 1987, Fosse collapsed in Verdon's arms and suffered a fatal heart attack in Washington, D.C., while the revival of Sweet Charity was opening at the nearby National Theater. After his death, Verdon went on to do several movies, including The Cotton Club and Cocoon, as well as many appearances on TV shows. She will always be remembered as the dancer, collaborator, and muse for whom Fosse choreographed much of his work, and as the guardian of his legacy after his death. Verdon died in her sleep at the age of 75 of a heart attack in the year 2000. Fosse won 9 Tony Awards, 8 for choreography and 1 for direction. He also won a Best Director Oscar for his film version of Cabaret. He is the only person to have ever won Oscar, Emmy, and Tony Awards in the same year, 1973. Verdon won 4 Tonys, a Grammy, the National Medal of Arts, and was inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame. A power couple indeed.